On today's show, the latest reporting and rumors surrounding the James Harden trade request saga, why things soured so quickly with his relationship with the Philadelphia 76ers, and are Daryl Morey and the 76ers losing some of their leverage at this point? It's all coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Now, what is PrizePicks? It's daily fantasy sports, but how does it work? Basically, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 25 times back on your money on any entry that you submit. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections that PrizePicks makes available. And PrizePicks offers projections on any sport that you watch. That's NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, the list goes on. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that simple. They're safe. They offer fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. So download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. That means if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. So don't forget to enter promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Sixers, Keith Pompey. You can track down wherever you listen to your podcasts, and on YouTube, just search Locked On Sixers. And Keith, it's almost like deja vu here because we've got James Harden forcing yet another exodus. He forced his way out of Houston, forced his way out of Brooklyn. Now he's trying to force his way out of Philadelphia. So let's start right here from the top. And just, I mean, at this point, when you look at how this situation has kind of played out, I know Harden's behaving a certain way, right? He's very clearly trying to get away from the Sixers currently, but how do you assess, I guess, the blame for this? Because it kind of feels like the expectation was Harden, I think, wanted to be made whole, right? After sacrificing money on his last contract, letting the team be able to put better pieces around him and Embiid, and then that didn't happen this offseason. And that's where I think some of maybe the breakdowns were in communication between him, Daryl Morey, and the Sixers organization.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. That's what it seems like. It seems as if, think about it. James gave up $15 million, left $15 million on the table to help the 76ers out. And he was adamant about helping the Sixers, and now you look at it and the money's not there. So, I mean, you have to blame, I think you got to blame both sides. You also got to blame him because, sometimes you got to come out there and you got to show him that you're worth that money, and again, I get it. He had 45 points. He had 42 points in 2 games in the second round series, but there were also games where he struggled mightily. And he didn't look like a guy who deserved to get a max contract. But so you have to put the blame on both people. But also James has to know, take the money when it's there, bro. You can't wait. IOUs. Sometimes people don't pay you IOUs.
What needs to happen for Daryl Morey and the Sixers to kind of come out on top of this situation, to feel good about really any outcome in this situation at this point?
There's 2 things that the Sixers want that they feel like they'll feel good about. One is trading James for an all NBA type caliber player, which, you've covered James and, you covered him during the best times of his career. I don't think you can get that for James Harden now. Also, the 76ers think that maybe they can get a couple draft picks that they can flip into that type of player. I don't know if they're going to get that either. I just don't. I think realistically, you look at James and you may get some draft picks, but you're going to have to get some role players to go with it. But the Sixers know that they need to win a championship, and they need a guy who can be a solid co-star to play alongside Joel Embiid. And right now, James Harden isn't garnering that type of trade prospect.
Yeah, I'm really curious how this is going to ultimately play out, because we've kind of seen this from a couple different ways before, right? We saw James Harden forcing his way out of Houston. He's already breaking out some of the similar, plays from that playbook. He's got the cryptic Instagram posts. He's saying, "I've been comfortable for so long, it's time to get uncomfortable." He's clearing the Sixers from his Twitter bio, no pictures, all of that. It's the same playbook that he instituted in Houston. But then on the flip side, you also have Daryl Morey, who went through basically this exact situation with Ben Simmons and just kind of holding out, and he held out and he was able to turn Ben Simmons into James Harden. So I'm curious, from your perspective, Keith, who has more leverage in this situation right now between James and Morey, and how they're both trying to navigate and do what's best for themselves in this regard?
Right now, I would say the 76ers have more leverage just because James is under contract. He opted in. He can do whatever he wants. He can stay out, or he could come back with a fat suit like he did, people said, in Houston. He could be a problem in the locker room. But the thing at the end of the day is, it's he's still under contract. And when you look at it, as you mentioned, he did the same thing, this playbook in Houston. He basically did a similar thing in Brooklyn to get out of there. James Harden wants out of the Sixers because he wants to go somewhere where he can get paid, right? Now, the problem is, if you do this for your third team, then no one in their right mind is going to throw a multi-year contract at you, no feeling that you're going to do the same thing to them.
Yeah, well, what does this ultimately even say about James Harden, Keith? The fact that we're seeing this kind of repeat trend, right, where he wasn't able to win with Chris Paul in Houston, pushed him away, wasn't able to win with Russ, ran away from him, teamed up with KD and Kyrie, got out of that situation, and now he's trying to abandon the reigning MVP of the NBA and constantly looking for greener pastures elsewhere, basically.
I think James found out that it's hard to say what it says about him. From the outside looking in, you'll say, what kind of guy is this? What is it, man? You go to the court and things don't go your way and you want to get your ball and go home. That's what it seems like, right? But to me, I feel like situations are a little bit different. I felt like he left Houston, he went to Brooklyn, and they had problems over there. And it was one of those things realized the grass wasn't greener. Well, he goes to Daryl. Him and Daryl, they have a great relationship. James makes a sacrifice financially and the way he plays basketball. Well, he's not getting paid for what he did. And then not only that, it's like they're not going to go back to his playing style. So I feel like, all three of these situations are different. I feel like James was loyal to a fault a little bit to Daryl Morey and the Sixers, and it bit him in the butt a little bit in this one. But from the outside looking in, yeah, he looks selfish. But again, who knows? You go to Brooklyn and Kyrie doesn't want to get vaccinated. They only play, 9 games together, the big three. And then you come to the Sixers, and yeah, he took less money. And then all of a sudden, okay, well, all we're going to give you is let you opt in. We're not going to pay you. So I feel like he feels like people weren't loyal to him. But again, the outside looking in, people are going to look at James Harden as if he's being a selfish ball player who basically can't cope and quits.
Is your gut telling you that this situation drags on past training camp, past the start of the season, or do you think that Morey and the Sixers find a way to get him out of town and get some type of return for him before that date?
You know what? I can see it dragging on, but my mind keeps telling me there's no way in heck they're going to go through this again. I feel like, by the start of the regular season, that James could be out there. Could be traded. My mind keeps telling me that, just because the Ben Simmons situation was crazy. You have a new coach in Nick Nurse who wants to get on the ground and get everything running. And I feel like they can ill afford to have another circus in Philadelphia.
And speaking of, ill affording another circus in Philly, how much does the outcome of this situation ultimately play into the future for Joel Embiid? He was just in an interview recently where he talked about, wanting to win a championship, doing whatever it takes. And he even kind of threw in this little side jab almost where he said, I don't know if it's going to be Philly or somewhere else. Is there maybe a concern that we could maybe see a Joel Embiid trade request if the Sixers don't handle this situation properly.
Yeah, there's a huge concern. I mean, that's like one of the worst kept secrets in the league, right? Everyone in the league everyone was talking about what's going to happen if they continue to do these musical chairs, so to speak, of co-stars with Joel Embiid, and they keep going out in the second round. Is he going to ask out? And the biggest, the worst kept secret in the league is the New York Knicks, what they're doing. I mean, they stockpile all these draft picks. He has a great relationship with Leon Rose, used to be his former agent, who is the president of basketball ops for the Knicks now. So, yeah, there are a lot of teams banking on Joel saying, hey, enough is enough, and I'm out. Now, of course, Joel saying, oh, no. The Sixers are saying, no, no. But that's what you expect them to say right now. But I do believe that this year is vital for the Sixers because, Joel – he's in his prime right now. He wants to win a championship. He got the MVP. And the only thing he's focused on now is winning a championship. And if the Sixers continue down this spiral, I mean, I can see Joel asking to be out.
How will the Sixers ultimately handle the James Harden situation? How will it impact the future of Joel Embiid in Philadelphia? You'll have us covered for all of that and more over at Locked On Sixers. Keith, I appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
Thanks for having me, man.